Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for still being with us. We've reached the last session of MyL3C 2021. The day has indeed flown by, and it's now time for Deep Dive Session 2, Low Carbon Success Stories by Cities. Our moderator for this session is Yang Berusaha, DS Shamsul Bahar Mohd Nor, Chief Executive Officer with Malaysian Green Technology and Climate Change Center, MGTC. Our panelists for the session are TPR Wang Ziwi, Principal Assistant Director, Green City Section, City Planning Department with Putrajaya Corporation, Puan Kamisa bin Mohamed Ghazali, Senior Vice President, Resilient Environment, Iskandar Regional Development Authority, and rounding off the panel is Tuan Haji Rosli bin Nordin, Senior Deputy Director with the City Planning Department, Kuala Lumpur City Hall. Yang Berusaha Shamsul, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Tamina. You had a long day. A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in this final session to wrap up the Malaysia Low Carbon City Conference 2021, MyL3C, Empowering Cities Towards a Low Carbon Pathway. I'm Shamsul, the moderator for this session. Let's make this saving the best for less does apply. We are definitely in for interesting dialogue to discuss the success stories of low carbon cities. To start the conversation, in Malaysia, vast majority of the municipalities understood and recognized that the highly populated urban areas are the main contributor towards the release of greenhouse gas. The transition towards low carbon cities requires the municipalities to develop climate action measures to mitigate climate change. The National Low Carbon City Master Plan focuses on 4 sectorial strategies that cities need to act upon, which taken together has the potential of helping Malaysia to reach its climate commitments. In our deep dive sessions now, we will focus on cities sharing their strategies and actions in achieving their cities' greenhouse gas reduction targets through spatial planning and development, community programs, and obviously city management. The key take here is to understand how the planning, implementation, and execution are done, as well as the challenges that the cities went through. Today, Putrajaya, Iskandar Malaysia, and Kuala Lumpur will share their experiences on the pathway towards becoming a low-carbon city. Well, enough said. In less than an hour, let's listen to all the panelists deliberating on their subject matter. Before I proceed with the introduction, before the introduction of the panelists, let's have some housekeeping. To the audience and listeners boiling with questions to any of the panelists, do write them in the chat box and do state your name and organization that you are representing, and we will read them after all panelists have completed their presentation. Now to the first panelist. She is registered town planner Ms. Wang Ziwi from Putrajaya Corporation. Ms. Wang is the Chief Deputy Director, and currently she is working on the preparation of Putrajaya Smart City Blueprint. Ms. Wang has been with Putrajaya since 1999 and was one of the pioneers that developed and implemented the first electronic submission of kebenaran merancang in Malaysia, setting up of Malaysian Urban and Rural Sustainable Indicators 2006 and Putrajaya Smart City Blueprint 2019. She will be sharing Putrajaya's overall initiative. Welcome, Ms. Wang. Thank you for joining us. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Cik Shamsul, for the introduction. And good afternoon, everyone. Okay. Hang on. Okay. This is my presentation outline for this afternoon. So today, I would like to share with you some of our initiative on how we transform the city into a low-carbon green city. Okay. It's a bit slow of switching the slides. Can you see my next slide? Yeah, it doesn't move to the next slide. Okay, can you see now? Okay, thank you. So Putrajaya is the federal government administrative center of Malaysia. The size of the city is about 4,931 hectares. Some main features of the Putrajaya master plan. The city was planned with the city in a garden concept. In line with this concept, almost 40% of the city area has been designated as open spaces. So this is including our 400 hectares man-made lake and 200 hectares constructed wetland cells. The city has been divided into 20 precincts. We have started to seriously focus on the low carbon initiative in early 2010. So the Green City of Putrajaya aims to minimize negative environmental impacts and degradation, to encourage human interaction back with nature, and to reduce the carbon emissions from human activities. To transform the city into a low carbon green city, we are using an approach called science to actions. Firstly, we have started with the help of a group of experts in the low carbon city development, the expert from UTM Malaysia, Kyoto University, and Okayama University. We conducted a series of scientific analysis, and from the study, the research team helped us to identify 3 quantitative environmental targets which can be achieved by Putrajaya in 2025. And one of it is to reduce the CO2 emissions by 60% against the level of business as usual in 2025. Based on the scientific analysis result, we have formulated a list of the evidence-based policies in our Putrajaya structure plan. And we are also setting the vision how we can actually moving from a garden city to a green city. To undertake the actions, we decided to scope down the initiatives by 7 focus areas, namely city planning and building, integrating nature into the urban fabric, transportation and mobility, energy usage, water usage, solid waste management, city administration and management. This is a diagram showing the relationship between Putrajaya's 7 focus area, our 16 main actions, versus the low carbon city framework. Although you might see the difference of the outlook between the 2 framework, however, our self-assessment showing that our 7 focus area and the 16 actions actually fits well into the low carbon city framework's element. In terms of city planning and building, we adopted a set of planning principles that contribute towards reduction of CO2 emissions. For example, the comprehensive pedestrian and cycling network, and having self-contained integrated neighborhood centers or neighborhood complex within the residential area. So these 2 are the simple but useful planning principle that will help you to actually control or reducing the energy use after the land use component have been developed. And the second example is reuse of the local resources for construction. This is our Putrajaya Lake Dam. It is constructed by reuse the crushed rocks blasted from the rock hills. So instead of sending out the rocks to the landfill or outside the city, we decided to use it as a construction materials. And also the smaller aggregates has been used to pave the road. For building sector, this is the most complicated we would say is the most complicated sector to be tackled in terms of CO2 mitigation. So we need to tailor, and we have tailored different policy instruments according to the life cycle of a building. For example, at the stage 1 before use phase, we are having the green building design requirements through the instruments such as local plan, planning permission, and building plan approval. And we do plan the district plan for the energy efficiency by using the gas district cooling. So this can help us to minimize the use or dependency of the individual cooling towers for the buildings. As for the existing buildings at the stage 2, the use phase, we need to have a totally different sets of instruments. The reason is the building stakeholders at this stage will be almost totally different from the phase 1 building stakeholders. Among the instruments used are building sector energy use and carbon reporting program, the retrofitting programs to improve energy efficiency and the share of renewable energy, green practices in building maintenance, such as green procurement, energy conservation, and also having certification or rating scheme for the operational performance. The GHG emissions from the building sector contributes almost or more than 60% of our total emissions. So from these figures, 90% actually come from non-residential building. Looking at this scenario, we have decided to focus our resources more for this energy guzzler or the non-residential building. Hence, we have introduced a program called Building Sector Energy Use and Carbon Reporting, or BCOR. It is a bottom-up building performance monitoring program involving the building stakeholders during the operational stage of a building. The participants in this program are required to submit their monthly building energy consumption data to PJC using an online system. So they are also required to set their reduction target, disclose their performance, and we will be providing them some incentive as well as the performance evaluation scheme. As a result of what we have done so far for the building sector, the outcome that we are receiving now is the building sector CO2 emission intensity by floor area has been reduced by 27% in year 2019. This is without compromising the growth of completed floor area. We will still be able to enjoy the 25% of the growth rate for the completed floor areas. So looking at these figures here, we are quite happy to conclude that the energy efficiency of our building sector has been improved. Another outcome or achievement is the establishment of our common carbometric CCM at city level. By having enough sampling size, we are able to come up with the CCM for government office complexes in Putrajaya. So as you can see here, the building energy index and building carbon index both shows a reduction of about 24% and 27%. Okay. For transportation, today we have 390 kilometers of pedestrian walkways and cycleways have been constructed. So our challenge now is how can we ensure the safety of our user and improve their comfort level. So we use the signalized traffic light for cyclists and pedestrians, having safety reminder signages, panic button for their safety. And with the collaboration of the project of GTLCC, we have installed the bike ramps to improve continuity, create shorter and more comfortable routes for cyclists to use the bike lane along the lake waterfront. Solid waste management, we would like to share with you one new project which we started last year. So this is based on the circular economy concept. The name of the project is Keratin. So this project has been introduced by Tetra Pak Malaysia and Milo UHD. So we expanded the program by just solely collecting the used beverage carton. We set up a team among our community, so train them to produce some of the eco product. We call it a UBC product. So the community are able to sell this product and get some green income. Under the Green Keratin project also, there's another product. After the UBC has been sent to the factory for recycling process, they produce a material called polyaluminium panel and roof. So again, our community from one of our urban farming site uses eco-friendly materials to make some useful items for their urban farming. Okay. Facility inovasi kita semula is one new facility that we started last year. So by having this new facility, it increased the capacity to process our 3R items and the ability for us to provide frequent 3R collection trips. Okay. Within the fix also, we also provide the facilities for learning and information on the recycling. In terms of environmental education, we believe that behavioral change is a toughest initiative to be undertaken. So through a program called Green Rose at Putrajaya, in collaboration with University Kebangsaan Malaysia, we introduced a children-led climate change adaptive initiative. So we train the students, the primary students, the primary kids, with all the simple green technologies like smart street light, eco bricks, eco boat, and the result from this Green Rose program, the students are able to write some eco stories by themselves. So they produce the eco story books. We publish it. Another product is a green book for the children. So we have customized the green practices in Putrajaya and distribute the books to all the primary school. Okay. As a conclusion, this is our GHG emissions trend in Putrajaya. So we have experienced a stabilization trend in terms of GHG emissions. For 2019, we managed to have a reduction of 1.8% as compared to the level in 2018. So as a conclusion, the city in a garden concept has provided us a solid foundation for the city to move towards achieving the goal of Putrajaya as low carbon green city. So our challenges now are to formulate more effective instruments to secure the desired urban sustainability and also to further strengthen the existing program so we can develop as a scope for long-term initiative. So with this, I conclude my presentation this afternoon. Thank you very much for your attention.
Wang, quite insightful though. I like the narrative to initiate human interaction back to nature. I think we need a lot of it by cities. And also those initiatives that you mentioned would certainly boost the low carbon city programs in Putrajaya as a whole. And I agree that obviously we are also quite optimistic on what Putrajaya Corporation is offering. Well, now let's move to the second panelist, which is Puan Khamisah Muhammad Ghazali from Iskandar, Malaysia. She is the Senior VP heading the Resilient Environment under IRDA. Mrs. Khamisah Muhammad Ghazali is currently leading the Key Result Area Steering Committee for Resilient Environment. She oversees programs and activities that enhance natural ecology, and built environment, improve green mobility and restructure infrastructure, and embrace low-carbon society in Iskandar, Malaysia. She joined IRDA in 2009 and played key role in development of the transportation blueprint for Iskandar, Malaysia bus rapid transit. She is a chartered member of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport. She is the board member for Perbadanan Pengangkutan Awam Johor. And Ms. Kamisah holds a Master of Science in Transportation Planning and from UTM. Puan Kamisah will be sharing Iskandar's successful low carbon education program with school children, which currently holds 16,000 schools in Johor. Could you elaborate further, Puan Kamisah? Thank you.
Thank you, Encik Shamsul Bahar Mohd Nor, for the kind introduction. Today I'll be sharing on low carbon society Iskandar, Malaysia, focusing on Iskandar, Malaysia Eco Life Challenge. Well, for those of you who may not be aware of Iskandar, Malaysia is located at the southern Johor, covering a total area of 2,217 square kilometer with 5 local authorities in it. And Iskandar Regional Development Authority, or IRDA, is a Malaysian federal government statutory body with core functions to plan, promote and facilitate development of Iskandar, Malaysia. In the context of low carbon cities, we are guided by our Low Carbon Society Blueprint 2025, which was launched at COP19 on December 2012 in Doha. So the blueprint is widely recognized at local, national and international level, which have put Iskandar, Malaysia in constant international focus for combating climate change. I would consider Iskandar, Malaysia a pioneer in low carbon development when we started it in 2009 with the adoptions of low carbon cities blueprint, society blueprint for Iskandar, Malaysia. In November 2012, the adoptions by the local authority have enabled us to move very aggressively towards low carbon implementation. Excuse me. In less than 10 years, Iskandar, Malaysia managed to complete the LCS development cycle from science to policy, action and monitoring. Through the years of participation in COP, UNFCCC side events, we have been given maximum exposure on low carbon and also green agenda. We also officially became the members of GCOM in 2017. And for your information, the cities, Iskandar, Malaysia have received, and we have received score A in terms of leadership. That is the highest band score in 2019 and 2020 by CDP in CDP cities reporting. So we also have continued the collaboration with Japanese cities, for instance, with Toyama City, Kyoto City, and also Kitakyushu City. But we also have other collaboration with other cities in the world. In terms of throughout the years, we have also seen that low carbon have been embedded into the state and also local policies, for instance, in the Johor Sustainable Development Plan and also the local plans. So we would say we are very happy because when we initiate this, it is for the cause of, you know, everyone. And when state government and local government actually bring low carbon into their plan, that is to us a very success efforts from what we have done in LCS Blueprint. To date, we have completed about 60 programs, and 214 are still ongoing. And we have also actually completed our GHG inventory for 2017, where the emission intensity of a GDP shows a significant decrease of 12.9%. And other than that, there are also other key projects that we are currently doing. And that is CDP reporting, and we are now doing the GHG inventory for 2018-2019, which the cost is being shared by all local authorities in Iskandar, Malaysia. And we also are doing now building energy monitoring and reporting system, BRMS. And today, in fact, we signed an MOU with Alliance and ICLEI in terms of plastic waste, plastic waste-free cities program, together with two other cities, Iloilo, Philippines, and also Jambi, Indonesia. And we are currently also doing green community carbon reduction program to spread awareness and to get community to embrace low carbon lifestyle. And also the Green Accord Initiative Award that aims to encourage stakeholders' commitment to environmental sustainability. So next, I will be sharing with you the success story of Iskandar Malaysia Eco Life Challenge. Iskandar Malaysia Eco Life Challenge is actually a program recommended by the LCS Blueprint. We started it in 2013 with the aim to foster LCS awareness among primary school students, teachers, and the families, and of course the community at large through education. MyL3C started with only 23 schools with close to 4,000 students in 2013, and the number have gradually increased. And in 2020 last year, we managed to actually cover 546 schools with 55,000 students participated in this particular program. At the same time, what happened is that MyL3C have also been embedded into the education system. This program has been embedded into the Johor Sustainable Education Action Plan 2019-2023 by the Johor State Education Department. Pre-COVID, as you can see, we have MyL3C involved a lot of physical interaction with teachers and students. This includes teachers' briefing session, schools visit to provide input and guidance to the students, and of course the big events, towards the end of the year for the final competition using station game method. So it has been actually a very vibrant kind of activities, towards the final competition where schools showcase what they have done, in their school. So it's very exciting. But again, with the COVID-19, we have to change our way and our method. So we have actually adopted the Google Classroom method and also Facebook Live. Nevertheless, the participation was very encouraging, and in fact for 2020, MyL3C 2020, total carbon reduction by participating schools is about 677,334 kilo carbon equivalent, translating to a total RM 101,295 of a safe and that was saved, and earned by the participating schools, which is actually very encouraging. Well, these are some of the photos of the school activities in recycling and farming. This involved most of the teachers and students in the school. And here you can see, home activities with families. on recycling, on efforts to save electricity and water, and also farming. From here, we can see how low carbon awareness is communicated by the students to their family members to ensure they practice low carbon lifestyle at home. So it is actually, very important for us to focus on awareness and education at an early stage in order to ensure that low carbon lifestyle can actually happen. Okay, this year we will continue with more interesting features through digitalization and gamification. We got the support from UNDP Malaysia Accelerator Lab, and MyL3C 2021 will cover all primary schools in Johor. That is about 906 schools with more than 100,000 students. And the website will be launched soon in August this year. And we must thank our strategic partner, Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri Johor, University Technology Malaysia, SWM Environments Neighbourhood, and also our supporting partner, Green Technology Application for Low Carbon Cities, and also United Nations Development Programme. With their support, we are able to continue this program actually. Well, MyL3C also have received multiple awards and recognition, both at national and international levels. For example, the Okayama ESD Award Global Prize 2018 by Okayama City, and a lot of other awards. But another thing that worth to mention is that MyL3C have features in the Rising to Challenge Malaysia's contribution to SDGs. This coffee book table call it 61 success cases for sustainable development solution by taking into account of the global goals and national priorities. So MyL3C is featured in this particular coffee book. Well, I guess in terms of key takeaway, what I can share in terms of the success factor for LCS implementation in Iskandar, Malaysia, is actually a commitment and support from government that is based on our governance structure, whereby both state, our Prime Minister and also Menteri Besar Johor is actually the co-chairman of IRDA. And this sort of gel, the thinking, the efforts made by us, that gain the support from federal, state, and local authorities. It's also incorporation of science into policy to implementation and monitoring. Scientific modeling and scenarios planning translate into summary for policymakers, and it is being embedded into our comprehensive development plan. And then participation by all levels of stakeholders, through various activities and platforms, and monitoring efforts to ensure good progress. And when it comes to issues, measures to manage it. And of course, GCOM requirement in terms of climate change mitigation, adaptation, and disaster and risk management measurement shall be embedded in our LCS blueprint. Currently, we are revising our LCS blueprint for Iskandar, Malaysia, which will include the climate action plan. So with that, I thank you for the opportunity, and back to the moderator.
I agree that to deploy and empower school children is quite a remarkable achievement by itself. They are our hope, and we need them to understand and embrace the very need of climate action. As mentioned earlier on by Ms. Wang, behavioral change is very much needed, and it needs to be nurtured and instilled while they are still young to the school children. Thank you very much, Puan Kamisa. We'll go on to the third and final panelist, which is Tuan Haji Rosli bin Nordin. He is the Senior Deputy Director from the City Planning Department under DBKL. Tuan Haji Rosli has 28 years of experience in town planning, and he is very knowledgeable in the subject matter, as he has had extensive trainings from UITM, UTM, as well as UIA. And Tuan Haji Rosli Nordin will be sharing Wangsa Maju's Carbon Neutral Growth Center, which is bicycle lane and pedestrian walk from Section 1 to KLCC. Please proceed, Tuan Haji. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So good evening, everyone. Today I would like experiences of low carbon success story by City Hall of Kuala Lumpur. So the question, why go for low carbon? So because Malaysia commitments, Malaysia is adopting an indicator of voluntary reductions up to 40% in terms of emission intensity of GDP by the year 2020 compared to 2005 levels. And the other one, the reductions up to 45% in terms of emission intensity GDP 2030 compared to 2005 levels as indicated in INDC to COP21. So Kuala Lumpur low carbon overview. Kuala Lumpur as a vibrant capital city aims to become a world-class metropolis that will boast top standard in every aspect of business infrastructure and in livable environments that will serve a major global and regional role for the benefit of all its inhabitants, workers, investors. So the carbon objective to review very but unconnected existing policies and development plans of Kuala Lumpur. Benchmark Kuala Lumpur with selected major world cities low carbon best practices to develop future scenarios and quantify carbon emissions for low carbon Kuala Lumpur based on the Kuala Lumpur City Plan 2020 to propose carbon mitigation measures for reducing carbon emissions, improving livability and ensuring green growth to time frame and relevant proposed carbon mitigation measures, implementation of law. So Kuala Lumpur low carbon aims integrate existing plans and projects in the city of relate to climate change mitigation and low carbon measures into a comprehensive framework. So the story by City Hall Kuala Lumpur. So 10 actions identified in low carbon society blueprint. The first one is Section 1, green growth. So the green services procedures and processes. So speed up the approval process. It will help to strengthen confidence to investors with a clear application process, efficient approval, transparent decision mechanisms. For example, Kuala Lumpur Integrated Submission List or MOBIS facilitate checking, making online payment such as compounding, renewing license and assessment tax. We aim to create an integrated platform and collect all data and information from various agencies and departments to promote transparency and facilitate information sharing. Capacity development towards a low. So Kuala Lumpur has the KL Regional Training Center, KLRTC, which will be a for human capital development in creating a highly competent, trained, knowledgeable, and skilled workforce in the green business sectors by equipping employees with the latest skills through the retraining program. So action to energy efficient spatial structure. So promoting growth patterns of various centers. Development is more focused on the distributions of urban functions into the 3 levels, namely city center, district center, and local center, compared to single centralized city. And in promoting support transit. In addition, the short-term transit network plan has been proposed to be connected to newly operations MRT lines, LRT lines, and monorail in line with the TOD concept, pedestrian and bicycle-friendly urban area. So improving the pedestrian network connectivity, City Hall Kuala Lumpur is producing a pedestrians and bicycle master plan, which is expected to be completed by the end of this year. Making urban space a public space, some spaces in the hallways have been upgraded to public spaces. Among the implementation methods are existing infrastructure, road resurfacing, wash and repair, and the conditions of existing wall and the floor surfaces. Planting roadside trees and shade. Roadside trees planting and shade under the landscape departments. And electrical vehicles and carbon neutral growth center in Wangsa. So the action 3 is green mobility. For the green mobility, encouraging walking and cycling for short and medium distances. So encouraging walking and cycling for short and travel in the context of Kuala Lumpur, encouraging and cycling is seen as an alternative to replace the use of cars for short distance travel. In encouraging cycling activities, DBKL has strived to make Kuala Lumpur a cycling-friendly city with encouraging as an alternative to transportation modes and promotion of low-carbon vehicles. 50 units of DBKL diesel vehicles have used B10 biodiesel, which is a product of recycling. Improving traffic conditions and performance. Variable message signs (VMS) is a way to inform drivers of changes in traffic patterns and road conditions. This can help traffic users make alternative choice if there are any changes in traffic patterns or road conditions. Actions for sustainable energy. Consumptions of renewable energy, solar energy. Renewable energy consumptions contributes to zero energy or carbon neutral buildings. Improvement of energy efficient systems. City Hall Kuala Lumpur has started the conversions to energy efficient lighting for existing buildings, and 45,000 units of existing roads have been converted to LED. Action 5, community engagement in green lifestyle. Low carbon society. Examples of information dissemination through mass media include newspapers, social media, and through KLFM. And public participation, community participation and involvement such as gardens and urban agriculture association, school, and institutional students as well as NGOs. Action 6 for low carbon green buildings. So for the low carbon green buildings, to implement the concept of vertical landscape in the design of green covered building facade. Action 7, green and blue network. Green cover protections. DBKL will plant in 100,000 trees a year. These trees will be monitored and updated through a tree inventory program. City Hall Kuala Lumpur also encourage the diversity of tree type. The target area of green space per capita is 15 square meters per person. 1 resident and 1 tree programs. So City Hall Kuala Lumpur is organizing a tree planting program with the residents or the public support from the CSR programs. Increasing the new water elements. Improving the new water elements such as fountains, falls, and water curtains is an alternative that can promote more water bodies in Kuala Lumpur. Not only reduce the air temperature, but can also give good physiology to humans. Creating linear urban parks along the rivers, reserves, and waterways helps provide different economic, environmental, health, and social benefits. Action 8, sustainable waste management. Waste to wealth programs. Food and garden waste from households have great potential to be converted into fertilizer. The organic waste can be used programs to generate wealth rather than sending it to landfills. Action 9, sustainable water and wastewater management. So under rainwater harvesting system, so City Hall has mandated and gazetted the reuse of rain in 2012 by stipulating in the development order for each new development in Kuala Lumpur. So for Action 10, governance, creating understanding. A total of 12 buildings have been identified for the installation of solar PV system by TNB using the concept of net metering and zero capex to DBKL. Cooperation with communities and apart from collaborating with agencies, communities and NGOs on low carbon and environmentally friendly campaigns. This is for Wangsa Maju Center. So for Wangsa Maju Carbon Neutral Center, so our vision is transforming center into thriving, prosperous, and livable carbon neutral growth center. So the aims Wangsa Maju Carbon Neutral Growth Center is transforming Wangsa Maju Growth Center to zero carbon, as a pioneer showcase towards achieving carbon neutral Kuala Lumpur by 2050 through a systematic interrelated measures for a progressive transformation towards low energy, low carbon, and ultimately carbon neutral city. The goals for Wangsa Maju Carbon Neutral is Kuala Lumpur towards becoming a climate neutral city by 2050. Wangsa Maju's Growth Center as the strategic pioneering case to the systematic and interrelated measures for a progressive transformations. And the objective one, to set out carbon neutral modeling for Wangsa Maju Carbon Neutral Growth Center, and for objective two, to identify suitable development concepts and projects for Wangsa Carbon Neutral Growth. So this is the green network. Green network showing the future network Damansar Sarhad, Canning Hills, Bangsa Hills, pedestrian bicycle lane, and the completed river applies pedestrian bicycle lane. So the next is Wangsa Maju Carbon Neutral Growth Center. We are proposed floating solar PV on lakes, solar PV installation on house, on the rooftops, green spaces, and anaerobics, digesters, and pyrolysis plants, EV buses, stations, LCS educations, and walkable and cyclable neighborhoods. So this is the proposed initiative by DBKL under energy, the rooftop PV installation, solar PV, and district energy system. And then proposed initiative ways, proposed initiative transportation and mobility to network for pedestrian and cycling, public transportation improvement, and electrical vehicle for Wangsa Maju. Proposed initiative community, the community in Wangsa Maju. And proposed initiative greenery and carbon offset to protect existing open space and forests, to introduce a vertical and roof gardening, create linear urban parks along river and rail, and organize clean up a river program. As a conclusion, this initiative needs everyone, that is the governments, the private developers, NGOs, local communities, as well as private individuals. And Kuala Lumpur City Hall has to implement a comprehensive awareness and outreach program for all. We need to act now and act together, because what we do today, climate, ecological system, and habitats of tomorrow, as well as the options available to our future generations. So this is a short video from Wangsa Maju. thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tuan Haji. Wonderful planning from DBKL. I'm a cyclist myself, and we do look forward for having more bicycle lanes in around KL, as well as the linear parks that you mentioned along the rivers would definitely be a popular spot for locals as well as the tourists. Thank you very much, Tuan Haji. And we could not wait for to witness the initiative revealed right before our eyes. Before I open up the discussion to the panelists, let me just put a note here that the Ministry of Environment and Water just launched the Low Carbon City Catalyst Grant, also known as GERAK, worth 35 million to empower the high impact and low carbon city initiative. The grant shall consider cities that show commitment through policy preparation, collaboration, and implementation of low carbon initiatives. And this grant is hoped to generate more local economic opportunities, reduce the impact on the environment, and improve the people's quality of life. The second window for the application is from July 15th until the 30th of August 2021. And we do hope that the grant will be put in good use by the municipalities. Now, back to the open discussion to the panelists. I am opening the first question to Ms. Wang. How can spatial planning support low carbon cities? Can you just be very brief? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Shamsul. Well, I think everyone knows cities consume energy, and environmental degradation occur when urban development take place. So the level of energy use and CO2 in city closely related to urban planning factors such as the compactness, density of development, settlement pattern, transportation system, and our building floor space use. Having this in mind, spatial planning shall take into consideration on how to reduce the energy consumption, dependency of the fossil fuel, as well as to increase the share of renewable sources in the city. So urban energy planning shall be part of the spatial planning as well.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you very much. New energy needs to be introduced. I agree. Question to Puan Kamisa. What are the main challenges for low carbon cities?
Well, I guess in low carbon cities, the main challenges would be the buy-in from the various stakeholders. And I think communication and a very clear direction and also action plan would actually really helps. And also, I think the most important thing is the governance of those particular projects or programs.
Yeah, I do agree. The governance is to be put on a priority note. Question to Haji Rosli. What are the key drivers of low carbon cities?
Okay, actually, one of the main governance, private and public participation. So in order to become a low carbon city, support from the stakeholders, industrial players, as the general public plays an important role of low carbon city action. Implementation is a shared responsibility. So the governments alone will not be able to achieve low carbon target without support from all levels of societies. So to contributors of carbon emissions. Therefore, important for us, local authorities, by them such as encouraging them to reduce usage of energy at home, practice waste separations at source, and many other low carbon lifestyle through spreading awareness and knowledge sharing. So just for your information, so DBKL, so we are using the Global Protocol for Community Scale Greenhouse and Gas Emission Inventories, GPC, to develop city-wide greenhouse gas inventory for year 2020. When it complete by end of this year, we will be able to identify our emission intensity of GDP baseline for this yearly target and aligns all our master plans and blueprints to achieve 70% reductions of intensity by 2030. So, and carbon neutral city status by 2050. So, citywide GIG inventory reports will help us to prepare a comprehensive climate action that based on hard data, actual hotspot and individual emitter, area of heat islands, our mitigation and adaptation plans, and as well as identifying low carbon economic initiative and social. So we will adopt a win-win approach in reducing city carbon intensity with our community, especially from commercial and industrial sectors. Findings from our city inventory reports will be shared with all the users for them know their energy and water usage efficiency waste generation. So City Hall teams will guide the industrial with the support from federal agencies and increase resource efficiencies, involve the federal government's green program, green circular economy and explore new growth.
Thank you, Tuan Raji. I think the 70% of the greenhouse gas reduction is much higher than what the government looking at, target of 45%. And we welcome very much for the carbon neutrality by 2050. So we hope that DBKL will be able to achieve it. I have a few, I'm going to read a few questions coming from the audience. Number one is from WW Lim. Question to Puan Kamisa. What are the mitigation measures taken at Iskandar? Hold on, I just lost the question. At Iskandar in order to achieve higher public transport mode share and low carbon society. Is low parking provision imposed for the new development? Can I have a response to that?
When we talk about mode share, definitely there have been several projects undertaken by Iskandar Malaysia. One of it is actually the provision of transportation services, bus rapid transit system for Iskandar Malaysia. So this provision of services will actually cover 90% of the catchment, of the populated catchment, compared we only have about 40 to 50%. At the same time, under the Perbadanan Pengangkutan Awam Johor, they have also actually provide free buses for the public, especially for those living in the area where transportation services are not available. That is under the Bus Mufakat program. And at the same time, to improve the cross-border traveling, we have also worked with LTA Singapore. I know right now you can't see it, but agreement have been actually established to actually to make the services, the starting of the services earlier, because usually we were only allowed to enter Singapore at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, crossing the border, but now the services will start at 3 o'clock in the morning. So we have to provide early services so that we reduce the number of people waiting or backlog inside the BSI. So in terms of the parking, lowering parking for new development, that is not under our jurisdiction, so it's still as per PBT guidelines. But of course, there have been movements in terms of pushing for lower parking in the future. But at the same time, right now, we are also planning for the smart integrated mobility system, whereby part of it is actually, one component of it is on integrated parking system to actually provide early information to public, so that they don't actually circle inside the city to find parking, so that would help to reduce congestion and reduce carbon emission.
Very good, thank you very much. I think the last mile connectivity is important in cities. Question, I think maybe the final question that we can have to panelists, to Ms. Wang, coming from Fazil. does the GHG emission include transportation emission in the city? He goes on saying that he's looking at new buildings coming up, and the reduction of the parking lots are being seen. So, any response to it, Ms. Wang?
Okay, yes, the answer is yes. The GHG emissions, including transportation sector, but limit to road transport only. The second part, I think, is talking about the reducing the number of parking, right? I'm not quite
Yeah,
clear with this. Yeah,
he says
I think, I think
he's
anyway, if it's
concerned
a
with the
if
increasing
it's
of
a
parking.
reduction of the parking lots, it should be in line with low carbon cities vision. If we are providing more and more parking lots, actually it's in contradict that we are encouraging people to use private vehicles. So, well, if that's true, it should be good for the city.
Yeah, I think I agree. We need to have more bicycle parks, parking for bicycle instead. I guess we have to conclude because we are living in borrowed times. We already come to the end of the session. Again, I would like to thank all the panelists for their insights and also appreciation to the audience for gluing in since this morning for the whole event. We do hope that we managed to accomplish as much as we have organized. Thank you very much, and back to you, Tamina. Thank you, guys.
And Barusa Shamsul and panelists, that was a truly meaningful way to showcase commitments already made in Malaysia and the spirit of MyL3C 2021, as well as what is already happening on the ground. Yang Barusaha and panelists, kindly do stay with us for a few more moments while we take a quick picture of all of you together. Please continue to keep your cameras turned on, and I will count you in on 3, and I'll just move right now. All right. 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you so much, panelists. Once again, attendees, at this turn, may I request for us all to go as through the day, leave this current session, and once you're back at the timeline browser page, please click on the closing ceremony link to join the next session with me. Kindly refresh your browser if you encounter any glitches. We'll see you in just a minute for the closing.
Welcome.